Hello, ladies, gents, and everyones. It is Thursday, July 22nd, and we're here to talk about this week's space and astronomy news. Let's start with some good news. So after being down for 34 long days, the Hubble Space Telescope is back up and running. This is so exciting. So troubleshooting this issue ended up being a really difficult affair. NASA even had to call in former team members that were there when the Hubble was built because they had this kind of intimate knowledge of all of these different subsystems. They had to go hunting through documentation that was 30 to 40 years old. And eventually they found the problem, they isolated the problem, and they came up with a really complicated plan to fix it, which involved switching to some backup hardware things that had never been turned on in space before. It was going to be a very long and arduous process, but they went ahead and started that last Thursday, and late last Thursday, they were successful with completing this backup switchover. From there, they had to kind of bring everything back online and test it out, but as of Saturday, the Hubble is taking science data again. We're celebrating with these first images that Hubble took after coming back online on Saturday. These are of two very unusual types of galaxies. So one is a spiral galaxy like our own Milky Way, but instead of the typical 2 arms, it has 3 arms. Imagine me with a 3rd arm. And then this other is a pair of really strongly interacting galaxies that could be in the process of merging. So really exciting. So great to have the Hubble back. Awesome work to all of the teams that I'm sure put in so much time and effort getting our wonderful, lovely, very old Hubble Space Telescope back up and running. And speaking of amazing images, you may recall the Event Horizon Telescope, which is a worldwide collaboration of radio arrays that can be used to create this very, very long baseline to create very detailed pictures of things like the event horizon of a black hole, which they did for the first time and released this image back in 2019, and it was amazing. So now the EHT collaboration has released a new image of a different supermassive black hole. This one is about 55 million times the mass of the sun. It's called Centaurus A, and it has a jet. And they were able to zoom in on this jet and kind of basically see exactly where the jet is launching off of this supermassive black hole, which is really amazing and just unprecedented level of detail. This supermassive black hole had been imaged before, but this new observation is 16 times better resolution. It's really astonishing. You can see that the jet is asymmetric, it's not perfectly symmetric, and it's what's called edge brightened, which means the edges are much brighter than the center. And while some amount of edge brightening can be accounted for in our current models, this amount of edge brightening is actually representing a challenge to models. So scientists are really able to learn a lot about jets from this unprecedented level of detail, plus it's just a really cool image. So last week it was Richard Branson, and this week the billionaire going to space on their own rocket was Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin. Now Blue Origin has been launching their New Shepard mission since 2015, but they have never had a crewed mission until this one. So it's really definitely a vote of confidence that Jeff Bezos chose to go on its very first crewed mission, and it was definitely an earned vote of confidence because the flight went off successfully. It went great. There was 4 team members on board. The flight is completely autonomous, so the rocket launches up to suborbital space and then lands itself again without any input from the team members. The team members were obviously Jeff and his brother Mark Bezos, as well as 82-year-old Wally Funk and 18-year-old Oliver Damon, representing both the oldest and youngest people now to have ever gone to space. So last week, Oliver Damon was kind of a last-minute surprise addition to the crew because that 4th seat was supposed to go to the winner of that big auction that spent $28 million for the right to go on the very first crewed New Shepard mission. However, that person backed out due to scheduling issues. They're going to go up on a later flight. And so it turns out that Oliver Damon's father had been one of the bidders in the auction. And so Blue Origin reached out to him and said, hey, we got this seat that's opened up. Are you still interested? He said yes, and he sent his son Oliver up into space. What a great dad. Why hasn't my dad sent me to space? So that makes Damon the first paying customer for Blue Origin, although they have not revealed how much that seat went for. Also, Blue Origin has continued now to reach out to these other bidders on the auction because part of the auction they were told that they would be kind of available, that kind of the first seats would kind of be made available to them if they wished to purchase them. So Blue Origin has said that they have 2 flights now planned for the rest of this year and that they are filling those up with paying customers. And it's not yet been revealed how much these customers are paying either, or when or how much the general public can expect to pay if they want access to this. Although Blue Origin says they are taking inquiries from interested potential customers. Think it's going to be out of my price range though. Over on Mars, the Perseverance rover started its science mission back in June, and it's been exploring the Jezero crater. And one of the things it's been looking for is a good spot to take its first sample. And now NASA thinks that that moment is imminent. So they're planning to commence this first sample in the next 2 weeks. Now, once they start, it will take 11 days to actually finish taking this sample, as they kind of have to work with the light delay and with a lot of different complex instruments on board the rover. These samples that Perseverance is going to collect are later going to be hopefully collected and returned to Earth as part of the first ever Mars sample return mission. So this is currently still in the planning stages, but it's a joint project with NASA and ESA, basically trying to get these samples that Perseverance is taking from the surface of Mars back up into space, back to Earth, back down to Earth. While we don't have concrete details on this yet, if all goes according to plan, those samples could be back on Earth in the early 2030s. So once the rover selects its final site to take the sample, it's actually going to be taking 2 samples of kind of twin rocks. And one of those samples, Perseverance, is going to analyze on site using its onboard instruments. Then once it finishes doing all of that assessment, it's going to rest and recharge, literally, for a sol before it starts taking the next sample. So this is going to be a sample that's drilled out of the untouched rock that's kind of twin to the sample that Perseverance analyzed. Can't talk today. This core sample is going to be about the size of a piece of chalk, and it's going to be stored in a tube. So after it is drilled out of the rock, it's going to be hermetically sealed and then placed in this storage chamber, there to await hopeful collection by the future Mars sample return missions. So this is a really exciting milestone for Perseverance, also could lead to some really cool science from that sample, and then hopefully even more once we get that sample back here on Earth, really building up hopes for this Mars sample return mission. So that's all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. You know, I hate to do this, but if you enjoy my videos, I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe and share them and everything, because the more that I get people interested in them, the more I can continue doing them. So yes, if you do enjoy these, please go ahead and take a minute to do all that fun stuff. And if not, no worries, you're still free to enjoy these videos. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.